Okay, hello, welcome to my Murky Divers weight painting tutorial. So first we're going to get rid of this cube, press it and press X. Boom, get rid of this camera, X, get rid of this light, X, boom, 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 done, done, done. Now we're going to go import our model. You can go to FBX here, or you can just drag and drop it. Go to External, Characters, Player, Export, go find skm player base.fbx, boom, alright. Now here we're going to make sure animation is not ticked, and down here we're going to make sure primary bone and secondary bone are X and Z. It is by default Y and X, I believe. So make sure that is correct, because that is incredibly important, or else none of your work will be for anything. My cat's just meowed at me. Hello. Alright. So now we're going to go get our model. Now, I don't believe I can drag and drop mine in here ever. So, I'm going to go import. I'm going to go to my Valve SMD plugin. This is a specific thing because I took a Gary's mod folder, a file. Alright, here we go. Yep, everything is fine. Okay. Now, I don't know what the problem is with this, but the old skeleton is, for some reason, connected to the rest of this armature. It doesn't really matter. I would have liked to delete it, but that is an issue for another day. I'm not here to give you more issues. So, we're going to pair this guy, this Goji, to the Murky Diver. Now, if I select the Murky Diver, I go weight paint, and I go to, let's go clavicle. You can see he's already weight painted. So if you want to just texture him, that's fine. You can do that. But we are getting rid of this whole model. So what I'm going to do is going to go up to bodysuit 1, scroll down to plane 10. That's selected his entire body. Press delete. He's gone. He's out of here. Wapoo. Now I'm going to select Goji. And I'm going to select the skeleton. I'm going to press Control P. And then I'm going to do here, set parent to, and you can do either of these. I will recommend, though, do with automatic weights. Now what it said is bone heat weighting has failed. That is because with automatic weights will not work for my model. I don't know what the exact issue is, but that's okay, because I'm going to be doing my own weight painting anyway. That just helps as a guide if you want that done. And it may or may not actually do a good job. So, as you saw, when I parented the bones with Godzilla, he suddenly grew about 20 stories. So what we're going to have to do is scale him down. So what I'm going to do is, I'm actually just going to press numpad 1, and then I'm going to press S, and I'm just going to scale that sucker down. I'm going to zoom in. Now, if you use Shift and middle mouse button, you can move around like this, or you could just press the move the view thing. I'm just going to scroll out to find him, center him there. You can use this zoom tool to go in and out. It can help for precise movements. If you want to rotate, you can just use this doohickey, or you can just hold down the middle mouse button. But my middle mouse button is a little funky now after doing this for a while, so I like to use this instead. Now, Godzilla's still not quite the size, so I'm going to just press S and scale him down again. Now, what I want to find is actually the head in the middle there, so let's go wireframe. Alright, so actually, that is another thing. As you can see, when I zoom in, it's zooming in back here, so what a tip you might want to do is select something like this, Shift-C, the camera is now centered over here. My middle mouse button's being funky. Alright. Now, as you can see, he is, of course, an unconventional model, so his hands do not work in the slightest to this whole thing. I'm just going to press numpad 3. That's going to take me to this plane. And as you can see, what I could do is I can move him backwards a little bit so that his legs kind of align more, his neck kind of fits in a bit better, and his arms also. So what I'm going to do is press G. Now G grabs the whole thing, and in fact don't select the armature, select the mesh. G, I can move him out of the skeleton like this, press left click, he stays there. So Control Z, he's back to where he is. You press Z, And then if you press Y, you can move him across the Y-axis. If you press G and then X, you can move him across the X-axis, because it's hard to tell right now. If I press numpad 1, there he goes, GX. Or if I go and then press G and Z, I can move him up and down like that. So I'm going to go back to this, G, Y, and I'm just going to vaguely line him up by the arm, the shoulder, I think. That works. Now I'm not going to do a super crazy in-depth weight painting, but I'm going to do enough that's going to set you off to know exactly what you need to do. So, this skeleton, click it, and what you want to do is go to edit mode. Now if your model is not anatomically correct to the skeleton, as is the case of mine, what you're going to want to do is, well, move some things around. So I'm going to Control shift click all of these bones, or you can use a drag tool. However, you'll find that it will only select a certain amount, so go to top left, press this instead, and the top left, this little double rectangle or squares, and you can select multiple, whatever you fancy. Now what I'm going to do is press G. I don't want to move him around like this, because if I say rotate him, his hand like that, that's completely out of whack now. So instead, it's important to use your planes like this. Now if I do control, I'll view the other side. I'm going to move his around his back and everything. So here we have his arm. Oh, I'm on the wrong side. And I'm just going to actually go into this side. Press R, you can rotate. Then I'm just going to press G, then Z, go down, press G, then X, go here. And that's roughly alright. Now, if you want to make it so that the hand animations actually work, what you're going to have to do is the cumbersome task of, well, reshaping all of these digits into the right space. So you can see his thumb here. So I'm going to press G, then I'm going to press Z, and move it down. Now, as you can see, it's not quite in there. So what I'm going to do is press G, and I'm going to press 3. Oh, nope, don't do that. I'm going to press 3 first, and then I'm going to press R, and then I'm going to rotate that. Press G, Z, down, G, Z, X, oh, G, X. No? How dare you? There you go. And this is almost roughly ready, right? Now, I could just try guesswork, but that's roughly okay. Now, important part to notice is that where these bones start is where they really have the control. Now, the whole bone itself will have control over this part of the finger, but as you'll see on this model, because they are inverted, whilst it looks asymmetrical, with this arm bone here goes all the way up to here, it's actually being controlled from this node here. Just like this arm was actually here originally, these were symmetrical. Of course, the difference is I just modified it. And of course, you want to do this with the legs as well. Now, for this particular model, because he has very strange legs, what I would actually want to do in this case is to make the animation look natural. I don't want to just put his leg in here. I actually want to put it out here, interestingly enough. And you can even rotate it a bit. That's all fine. And there's a foot down there. If I want to actually see this, select this bone, press H, oh, press again. There's a gone, right? So that's all well and good. Now, I'm going to get to the actual business here. So, select bones first, then shift-click, select the mesh, go to weight paint. Now we've selected both. What you can see there's the old model's weight painting has been done for certain parts of the body, but these are all from a different skeleton, so we're not going to be using this. And if I remembered how to actually delete it, I would. So what we need to do is be able to see these bones inside his body. So we're going to press Alt-Z or Alt-Z. And now we can see both. Now, the key binding may be different for you, but for me, when you press Alt and left click, it selects the bone. For other people, it's Shift left click or Control left click. For me, it's Alt. that may be normal. So when you select these bones, it is changing the bone up here, and effectively what I can do is paint it, and then I can change to another bone, and now I can't see that anymore. I'm going to get rid of that, because before we do any weight painting whatsoever, we need to make sure that our tools are actually correct. Now we're going to go with our weight painting brush, we're going to go up to the tool options up here. Please, for the love of God, pick auto normalize. This will make your life 100 billion times easier. What we're going to do now, I'll show you. If I select the pelvis, which is usually the origin point of most models, and I just, in fact, what I will do is I will basically paint in his whole body, and this is fine for the very first bone, because with auto normalize what you're going to see is it's actually going to replace what I have weight painted over. It's going to be handy to tell what you've done later. And now, of course, you are going to have to go all over the model on the back as well. It can be quite difficult when you've picked a model as dumb as this. But they shouldn't all be as difficult as this thing. Now, what I'm going to show you is now if I press spine 1 here, it's all gone. I'm going to actually instead, what you should be painting spine 1 is more like roughly around here where that ball starts, and I can just press on. What happens is it starts from the vertice point, so I'm going to get rid of that. Now you'll notice your weight here up the top. If I set this weight down to 3, see how much less impact it has. If I turn it up to 6, now it's a green. The warmer the color, the more control it will have over the bones. Now, ideally, I'm going to set this back up to 1. Ideally, what you want to do is go around the whole spine here. I'm going to ignore these dorsal fins for the moment, because they are just too much work for what I'm trying to demonstrate. So you basically do that. Now I'm going to go back to here. You can see from the pelvis what I've done is it's removed it. That's what auto normalize does. So this is here, and then I go to spine 1, it's there. Now if I go to spine 2, I paint that in, you'll see how it's removing it. Now you can see here I missed a spot, right? So that's something that you'll find is going to be quite important for you later on when you start moving your model, and you notice that when one bone moves, the rest is stretching in a weird way. And you're wondering, why is it all stretching? It's because your weight painting has spots that the bones have had gaps in them. So if there's a place that you have missed, if you say, go to object mode, actually, if you click the bones and you go to pose mode, if I move this around, so you can see how this skeleton brings all the mesh around with it. In fact, if I put it in material, you'll see that even better. What you'll notice is that if you sometimes move this whole move this whole model, you'll notice how it is completely shredded, and that is because I've missed all these points, right? There's no weighting here. It doesn't know that it's supposed to pull these with the whole rest of the skeleton. What you'll find is that you'll miss little spots, and when you move the whole skeleton, they'll be dragged, like, say, a hand piece will be sticking all the way out here when the models move. So you're going to have to do cleanup work eventually. To better demonstrate, though, what I'm trying to do... Oop, I have just messed everything up. I'm going to select the arm here. And something handy you can do with the very first bone is just block out the whole arm, just how I did with the spine. Boom, boom, boom. Now the hardest part of weight painting is supposedly the clavicle region here. And that is because, and it's hard to know really with Murky Diver's animations until you really learn how they work with your weight painting. It's a little bit of trial and error. If you hold down Shift, you can delete things, by the way. So if I make a mistake here, Shift click, boom, done, out of here. But if you leave a little bit there, it's a little bit faint. That still, if I move this arm, will pull that just a little bit. So it's important that you get rid of all of it. Now another thing you'll find with weight painting is that you need to be able to recognize where crevices and creases are in your model. Now, I have a very low poly model here. I need to make sure that all this gets colored in. Now, when you're painting in your clavicle, if I select this clavicle here, clavicle usually, and you might have to experiment with your model, but it'll usually cover this area down here, and in cases will also cover the top here. And it'll be roughly something like this. And it might be bigger, it might go out wider. It depends on the neck as well. But say it's like that. Now I go back to this. You can see the arm has just lost some there. Now I don't want any glitches to happen, so I'm actually going to give the clavicle more space here. I'm just for the sake of this going to do enough so that it doesn't look wonky. Now, okay, now you can see I got the whole arm in, or in fact most of it. You can see these lighter parts I missed. But I'm now going to go to object mode again. I'm going to select just the skeleton, the armature. I'm going to go to pose mode. I'm going to press R, and as you can see, I'm moving the whole skeleton here. Now this is what I was talking about earlier. I'll show you right now. Everything's fine with this hand right now. Everything's fine. If I press G now, or R, if I move this up to a certain point, a certain point where it gets a bit too far stretched, this polygon is now going too far out. So I can stretch this up and down, and eventually if I stretch it too high, we got some problems here, and that can impact the whole model if you have these missing spots. And I can confirm to you that it is a problem. I'll select the bones, I'll go here, weight paint, and as you can see, it's a little lighter. Boom, I color it in, and it immediately goes into space. Immediately finds its shape, because it knows where it's supposed to be. So now, what you'd have to do, I'm going to go to wireframe because it's easier to work with. Select mesh, then shift click that. Sorry, I keep doing this the wrong order. And then what you would do is you'd go to the next bone. Upper arm twist, and then fill this in. Now, my advice is that you don't keep the arm here, you actually return it back to its standard A pose as before, but because I'm not going to import this later, that's okay. I can deal with that mistake. So, see, now you can see where that's gone. So then I'd go to the next bone, and I'd find roughly how much to color in. Now you can import the model of the original Murky Diver and check out his weight painting and select his bones the same way I'm doing here, and you'll see where each of those bones are weight painted, and you can use it as a guide on what your weight painting should look like. I'm doing such a rough job here, so I'm missing lots of parts, so it's going to look messy, but this is roughly what you want to do. Now the Murky Diver's skeleton works in a weird way that the upper arm, it comes in multiple parts. So this is the upper arm left, then we have upper arm twist 1 left, upper arm twist 2 left, and then we have lower arm. And the lower arm usually, usually starts right here at the elbow. And sometimes lower arm twist 2 can share a bit of that elbow too. I'm going to select pose, and again, you see I can move this parent bone. If I move this guy, you can see that it just kind of stretches out, and that is normal because these twist bones work differently. The way they are parented is different. This lower arm, you can see, controls the rest of it, but these twists don't. The hand controls this. This is the hand held, which holds items. So you want to position that where, in fact, the item is being held. I'm gonna select thumb 1. In fact, a better practice would be to select hand left, and a good tip is to make sure that the hand starts in the center. This is a bit off, so when this eventually gets rigged to an animation, it's going to look a bit strange. So something I would do is go to edit mode. Oh, as you can see, it's reset. We're just going to press 3. I'm going to press G. I'm going to press Y. I'm going to move it a little bit in, and then I could rotate it a bit. Again, I'm not too fussed about it. and you might want to, switch up the arm to fit it as well. So let us select the hand, not handhold, but hand. Definitely make sure you pick the right hand. I'm going to increase the radians because why not right now? Don't make it as big as mine, but do. It should. I've messed it up a bit. Really, where lower arm twist 1 should end is somewhere around the wrist here. Lower arm twist 2, which by the way, don't get confused by the names. You'll find that lower arm twist 2 starts first and then lower arm twist 1. However, upper arm starts with 1 and then 2. So it always starts with 2s in the middle. That's the same for the legs. But all the hand is done. That's okay. Now I'm going to pick the thumb. It's a low poly model, so it's going to be quite messy to begin with. But I managed to weight paint it to a point that it was fine. That's the thumb's first bone, second bone. Here we go. Just going to go around, weight paint it up. Normally I would take a lot more time with this. And that's a rough version of it. I'm going to select the bone, I'm going to do pose, and check this out. Boom diada, right? Isn't that funky? So now he can do his things. And of course, depending on the model you're using, it is always good to try to figure out where any secret crevices are. So in my case, what I've got to do here, weight paint. If I go inside the skeleton here, there is, what you can see, there is a nail bone here. So if I didn't weight paint that, as you can see, if I lose the weight painting, it will disconnect and it can create that weird glitch again. So that's something to keep in mind of. Another place where that glitch will usually happen is inside the model. A good place to check is the eyeballs, because the backs of the eyes, they have polygons too, and they will stretch in weird ways if you don't paint them as well when you get to the head. And also for human models, some tend to have a tongue inside. You need to weight paint that as well when you get to the head. So eventually what you'll have done is, in fact, let me open up the finished Godzilla. This is my boy. So if I go to weight, if I go to the weight painting on him, now this is his neck 1 bone. You can see I've actually given his entire neck control of his head. His head has virtually nothing. I did that on purpose, so that when he swims forward, his head faces forward. But what it has done is made his head always point up. I think it's funny, so I left it like that. It looks more like a costume. And it helped me kind of get around the fact that I'm still trying to figure out how humanoids and this neck bone thing kind of work with the animations. But as you can see, if I select upper right arm here, I make my way down. Now that's the right hand, and when I did right hand, another important thing is, again, creases. I went into here and I painted that crease in between the fingers, and then this is a low poly model, so when I got to the actual fingers themselves, they covered over that anyway. But on a higher poly model, that will be very important, otherwise you'll end up with that weird stretching glitch. Here's the spine. It's going to take some experimentation and posing, but you will be able to figure it out with trial and error. These are, of course, the feet. Now, once you get to the feet, this is very important. Unless you've got flippers, do not paint every bone for the foot, or else you're going to end up with elongation. So what I do is I just select foot, I paint the whole foot, and then I select this little bone here, ball left, and I paint about that much of the foot. And you can see these bones have no weighting. If I weighted these, it would have extended the whole foot to be the size of a flipper during the animation. So that is something to be aware of. I think that's about it for what I need to say. Other than when you export this, and I will show you, go to FBX, go find whatever folder you want. On the right here, go down to geometry. Now this can be normals only, it'll be fine. However, if you import it like this into Unreal, it's going to give you a error. It'll tell you there's no smoothing done. Now you can ignore it, but if you don't want it, you can press face or edge. I just usually do face, and that won't give you that error. But we're going to get rid of animation there, and we're going to go to armature, and again, see it's Y and X axis, so make sure that's X, make sure that's Z, and armature FBX needs to be set to the root, and get rid of leaf bones, and that's it. Now you can export it, and go find it, and then import it into your game, and follow the steps from there. I hope that's been helpful, and not boring.